to Jake a little earlier. He was driving over from Shawnee.
Oh, you think I should give him a call? Oh, you heard from Jacob?
Yeah, I talked to him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Okay, sorry.
Talked to him 45 minutes ago.
Okay, great.
He's coming from Shawnee.
All right, thank you.
That little red cruise only goes so fast.
I think I saw him pull over.
He thought last month was his last month, but we had to, had to remind him.
Sounds like he's got some decisions to make too, huh? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here, Jake.
Yeah, it was his rate.
All right, I think I'm over there.
Yeah.
You know, when we had these meetings over at River Drive, I never had to fight for a parking spot.
You can frisk
Did
when
you
you want
punch in the number too, to get a ticket?
Sure, yeah.
But you didn't get frisked when you were down there, Jake. That's what I don't know.
The good old days.
Anybody else having trouble with that authentication? I mean, I can't even send emails out to someone who responds to me. It asks for more digits, and then it only gives me 2 digits, and it's like, how do you get the other part? And it's like,
Well,
it's ridiculous.
one of them is when you log on, whatever digits, whatever you're using there, it's asking for that first.
Right.
Okay, and then the two-factor authentication
And
should be
it never gives me any number. It's like, okay, I can't answer any emails or anything.
Gene is here.
Well, we'll see how today goes, and then we'll
There you go. Okay.
She has mine right now. She can fix anything.
I hope.
She left the room with it. Where did she take it?
It's going that way.
Okay.
They don't tell us how they fix them.
We didn't ask how she fixed it.
Yeah.
It was the Marshfield IT. And they threw him off the desk.
Here's a new one. It's fixed.
Okay, being that it is 3 o'clock, I'd like to call the April 5th, 2022 Environmental Resources Committee to order. Public comment, not to exceed 15 minutes. Did we have anybody sign up for public comment? Nope, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, approval of the March 1st, 2022 committee minutes. They were in your packets. Motion by Supervisor Drabeck. Second by Supervisor, we'll do Seafelt now. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. We have operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. 4A1 and 2 for our public hearings, review possible actions, and possible recommendations to the county board for its consideration. County zoning changes. Now the Environmental Resources Committee will proceed with opening the public hearing. We would remind everybody to please mute your cell phones and mute yourselves online if you are not speaking at this time. The Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is now meeting in public hearing on the location, plans, specifications, and purpose of the following projects. 4A1, Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang, General Agriculture to Rural Residential, and General Agriculture to Rural Estate, Town of Spencer. And 4A2, Timothy J. Davis, Low Density Residential and General Agriculture to Rural Residential, Town of Spencer. Briefly, just like to introduce members of the committee. Myself, Chair Jacob Langenhan, Vice Chair Sarah Guild, Supervisor Bill Conway, Supervisor Rick Seafelt, Supervisor Alan Drabeck, Supervisor Randy Pfeiffer, Supervisor Dave Overbeck, Marilyn Ben, who is our Wisconsin Towns and Villages Association representative, and Rondi Roskoff, who is our Farm Service Agency representative. Also present are Lori Miskimins, our Conservation Planning and Zoning Director, Paul Daigle, our County Conservationist, Shad Harvey, our Land Resource Manager, Nicole Delaunay, Administrative Coordinator, Andrew Lynch, the Transportation Planner. The establishment of the Environmental Resources Committee is required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. The committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. The committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinance or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation and planning programs. The ERC will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A taped recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection.
This meeting is being recorded.
The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses will be called in order of those first in favor, second opposed, and then third as interested may appear. The committee may ask questions of the zoning staff and applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements and on the overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to testify, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions relating to the hearing should state your name and present your testimony or question so it becomes part of the official record. We request you avoid repetition. Once the committee has all the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony. And the committee will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are a recommendation to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, who will take up the matter at a future county board meeting. Please contact staff for more information regarding this county board process. This committee will now hear the application of 4A1. We have Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang, General Agriculture to Rural Residential, and General Agriculture to Rural Estate, Town of Spencer. We will begin with our staff report, which will be given by Shad Harvey. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang petition to rezone land, staff report dated April 5th, 2022 for the Environmental Resource Committee. Finding of fact, public hearings / meetings, Town of Spencer Town Board meeting, February 8th, 2022, Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee meeting, April 5th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Petitioner, Larry and Patricia Lang, located at 104094 26th Road, Marshfield, Wisconsin, 5449. Property owners, Patricia and Larry Lang. Area proposed to be rezoned is in the middle of the town of Spencer, just west of the intersections of Caro Ave and Red Fox Run. The request, the petition of Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang to amend the Marathon County zoning ordinance to rezone lands from general agriculture to rural residential and general agriculture to rural estate, described as Lot 2 of CSM 8210, recorded in Volume 31, page 163, as document number 1034062, located in part of the west half of the northeast quarter of Section 21, Township 26 North, Range 2 East, Town of Spencer, Marathon County, Wisconsin. The areas proposed to be rezoned are described as Lot 1 and Lot 2 on the preliminary CSM submitted with the rezone petition. Part of parent parcel, PIN number as seen on the staff report. Existing zoning district is general agriculture. Proposed zoning districts are rural estate and rural residential. Current parcel size is 10.252 acres. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. Existing generalized land use map, land cover map, Town of Spencer. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown as agriculture in the town's comprehensive plan, existing land use, land cover map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of agriculture, woodland, outdoor recreation, and residential. Town comprehensive future land use map, the area proposed to be rezoned is shown as residential in the town's comprehensive plan future land use map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of residential and agricultural uses. It is not currently farmland pres, and the proposed area to be rezoned contains no FEMA floodplain areas or DNR mapped wetlands. The existing preliminary certified survey map, as you can see on the map, the red dotted line portrays the approximate area to be rezoned from general agriculture to rural residential, with a total of 2.91 acres. The green dotted line portrays approximate area to be rezoned from general agriculture to rural estate, 7.53 acres. Here's an aerial photo of the parcel, as well as a zoomed out aerial. Town recommendation: on February 8th, 2022, the Town of Spencer Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resource Committee. The staff comments regarding ERC conclusions of law can be found in the staff report below. CPC staff recommendations: the rezone meets all zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the proposed and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by the town resolution. Based on the information provided above, finding of fact, conclusion of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPC's staff recommend that the Environmental Resource Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Shad. Are there any questions for staff? Hearing and seeing none, thank you. We'll now move on to public discussion. Anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the request, please either unmute yourself at this time online or come forward at this time in person. I'll call again. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone, again, this is 4A1, Larry Jane and Patricia K. Lang in the town of Spencer. Anybody wishing to speak in favor, please unmute yourself or come forward at this time. Last call. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, 4A1, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call again. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone? Last call. Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested on the proposed rezone, 4A1? One more time. Anybody wishing to speak as interested in the proposed rezone? Okay. Hearing none. If no one else wishes to testify for this application, I am now declaring the public hearing on Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang, General Agriculture to Rural Residential and General Agriculture to Rural Estate, Town of Spencer, now closed. The committee will now deliberate on the application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Chair, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Go ahead, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
I make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezone for Larry J. and Patricia K. Lang from general agricultural to rural residential and general agricultural to rural estates in the town of Spencer, and recommend the findings of facts as presented by staff.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Roskopf. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our second public hearing of the day, we have 4A2, Timothy and Amy Davis, low-density residential to rural residential and general agriculture to rural residential, town of Spencer, and we will begin once again with our staff report.
Timothy J. Davis and Amy Davis petitioned to rezone land staff report. The date is incorrect on the staff report. It should be April 5th, 2022, Environmental Resource Committee. Findings of fact, public hearings and meetings, Town of Spencer Town Board meeting on March 8th, 2022, Marathon County Environmental Resource Committee meeting today, April 5th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Petitioner Timothy and Amy Davis, located at 106376 Man Road, Marshfield, Wisconsin, 54449. Property owner Timothy Davis. Location of rezone request, areas proposed to be rezoned are in the southeast corner of the town of Spencer, just east of the intersection of Pleasant Road and Man Road. Request, the petition of Timothy J. Davis and Amy Davis to amend the Marathon zoning ordinance to rezone lands from low-density residential and general agriculture to rural residential, described as Lot 1 of CSM 19030, recorded as document number 1843194, located in part of the southwest quarter of Section 26, Township 26 North, Range 2 East, Town of Spencer, Marathon County, Wisconsin. The PIN numbers associated with this rezone are listed in the staff report here. Existing zoning districts, low-density residential and general agriculture. Proposed zoning district, rural residential. Current parcel sizes, the north parcel is 1.828 acres. The south parcel is 1.7 acres. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent out by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of subject property. Existing generalized land use map, land cover map, Town of Spencer. The areas proposed to be rezoned are shown as other agriculture, residential, and outdoor recreational uses in the town's comprehensive plan. Existing land use map and land cover map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses. Town comprehensive plan future land use map. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown as residential and agriculture uses in the town's comprehensive plan future land use map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses. This area is not farmland land preservation. The area proposed to be rezoned contains no FEMA floodplain areas, DNR mapped wetlands, but does contain shoreland overlays. Existing certified survey map. As you can see here, the red dotted line portrays approximate area to be rezoned from general agriculture to rural residential, 1.828 acres. And the green dotted line portrays approximate area to be rezoned from low density residential, 1.7 acres. Here is an aerial image close up of the property, as well as one zoomed out. The town's recommendation. On March 8th, 2022, the Town of Spencer Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resource Committee. Staff comments regarding ERC conclusions of law can be found below in the staff report. Staff CPZ recommendations. The rezone meets all the district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimensions of, if approved, the Town of Spencer should update their comprehensive plan to reflect the proposed rezone. The future and existing land use map should also reflect the rezone in question. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan as indicated by the town's resolution. Based on the information provided above, finding of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the criteria and standards for rezone. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resource Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Shad. Any questions for staff?
Supervisor Guild.
Go ahead, Supervisor Guild.
Under the staff comments report, item 3A, it just says the need is to bring the parcel back into compliance. Can you just clarify what it is that we're bringing back into compliance here?
Yes, so the parcel originally, when it was surveyed, it didn't follow proper procedure and was recorded before it could go through our office, which in turn made it a non-conforming parcel. So this would change the zoning district and bring those parcels back into compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Thank you again. Okay, moving on to public discussion. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed request? The item that we are looking at is 4A2, Timothy and Amy Davis, low density residential to rural residential and general ag to rural residential town of Spencer. Anybody wishing to speak in favor, please come forward or unmute yourself on WebEx at this time. Anybody wishing to speak in favor, please identify yourself at this time. Call one more time after this. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call one additional time. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone? Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested in the proposed rezone 4A2, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak as interested in the proposed rezone? Last call. All right. If no one else wishes to testify for this application, I am now declaring the public hearing on Timothy and Amy Davis, low density residential to rural residential and general agriculture to rural residential, town of Spencer, now closed. The committee will now deliberate on the application, apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. What are the wishes of the committee?
Chair, this is Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Go ahead, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezone for Timothy and Amy Davis from low-density residential to rural residential and general agricultural to rural residential in the town of Spencer, and accept the findings of facts as presented by staff.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Overbeck. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving right along. 4B, review and possible recommendations to County Board for its consideration. Town zoning changes pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 60.62 sub 3. We have none. Review and possible recommendations to the County Board for its consideration. We have none. And D, review and possible action by the Environmental Resources Committee, in which there's no county board action needed. We have 4D1, Red Parrot subdivision final county plat in the town of Knowlton. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. So in the packet was the staff report for the Red Parrot subdivision. I also had a copy of the final plat that was approved by the town, and I actually have a copy of it here with all the signatures as well. I don't know that I'm going to go through the entire staff report. It's very similar, almost word for word, for the preliminary plat. One thing to note is the Red Parrot subdivision preliminary plat was approved by the committee on March 1st. Approval of this final plat by the ERC is final and no county board approval is necessary. So based on the information provided, CPZ staff recommends that the Environmental Resources Committee approve the proposed final county plat of Red Parrot subdivision. Any questions?
Any questions for Dave?
Chair, this is Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Go ahead, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
I make a motion that we approve the final plat for the Red Parrot subdivision in the town of Knowlton.
Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drayback. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 5, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports, and committee discussion. We have department updates, conservation planning and zoning, park rec and forestry, and the solid waste department. For CPZ, we have 2 items, 5A1, MS4, the annual stormwater report. Jeff, I believe you're on the line for this one.
Yeah, indeed I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. This is an annual thing that we do. The annual report is developed and created by Mr. Lang at Highway Department, but we are required to, for educational purposes, and make sure that members and the general public are informed in terms of the MS4 annual report. We present this to the committee each year. In effect, what it does is identify certain areas to DNR, our county efforts as a whole, as it relates to stormwater and water quality efforts. It also establishes documentation toward our education and outreach efforts, toward the 6 minimum requirements as identified by US EPA. And it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have if you've had an opportunity to review the document.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? Jeff, I did have one only because I don't have the best memory in the world, but are we required by statute to do this, or where does the requirement to do this report come from?
We are required both, well, twofold. One by US EPA, 2 by DNR. It's a DNR requirement that we report to a committee, governmental body unit each time we submit an annual report.
Okay, the other question I had was that given the amount of property that the county has, and you talk about the varying degree of each function of these sites, like you have the highway department, and then you have the parking lot for the county courthouse and all these different things. I guess my question is that what does the data collection look like for this? Like, how do you get some of these numbers?
Well, it's an effort that it's multifaceted, if you will. The highway department keeps track of total salt usage, for example. The highway department also contacts other and various departments in terms of recyclable efforts, and if there's been any type of spill, for example, any projects that have taken place. We do have a project that's nearing completion. We should receive within, well, this month, and that was the stormwater planning grant project. And we also completed a 5-year plan for our stormwater education and outreach project or program. So if we have, for example, if we have county facilities located in different units of government that is considered an MS4, we have an agreement with those various units of government that we will adhere to their stormwater regulations in terms of operation, maintenance, and repair.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Overbeck.
I just have a question regarding some of the salt management as far as what's happening and how they're using some of this data as far as what's going off as a storm runoff. We see the salt brine being used even if they mention snow. I mean, it doesn't even have to happen, but it's immediately being put on the roads, and we're also seeing streams open up sooner than they usually have. There's a lot of studies happening out there with that. What process are we doing to study that more closely in Marathon County as far as that changeover to, I guess, the liquid salt and pre-salting our roads? Because it just seems like we're destroying our road system with that as it's getting deeper into the concrete and spalling more easily. Heaving in roads seems to be going up. I guess this committee might want to look at that a little bit closer as far as its environmental impact and how much salt we use, what the conditions of winter are, and I guess the highway department should be looking at how fast it's deteriorating our roads quicker with that getting into the joints. As an architect looking at concrete, that is the worst situation you can put, is to get that in those joints and start going where they've got joint or rebar epoxy or whatever. You start doing that, you're having a lot of issues with your roads and what happens with that. And we're spending more on that. So, and it's also bad for the environment as far as the water, all the streams that's running off into. And I guess I'd like to see that addressed in the future by Marathon County.
May I respond, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. We have, and we do track that. In fact, the usage of brine reduces the amount of salt that's actually used within the county, and that is a direct realization of cost savings in terms of tonnage and the amount of salt that we use. The brine prevents a bonding of ice to the road surface, and it is actually more environmentally friendly than actually road salt itself and other de-icers that are out in the world that we could use. We are I'm also the chair of the Stormwater Coalition, and our members range anywhere from Merrill all the way down to the city of Baraboo, and we are coordinating with Saltwise, and we've had an effort with them that's been going on for this past year, where we have provided educational trainings for proper usage of salt, proper usage of salt distribution in terms of timing, and trying to coordinate with private contractors, both in the public and private sector, to improve and use salt more wisely in terms of maintaining proper maintenance of areas for ingress and egress, parking lots, and getting into hospital areas, for example. So we've had what's called noon luncheons, if you will, with guest speakers sponsored through the Stormwater Coalition as well as Saltwise. We've advertised that with the Chamber of Commerce and each Chamber of Commerce in the counties that we coordinate with. And we actually went as far as looking at conducting a 2-year study regarding chlorides within our surface waters and groundwaters through the University of Stevens Point. However, the cost of that was rather prohibitive, but it may be something that we consider in the future as a county as a whole, because our knowledge of water quality data, both surface and groundwater, is limited at this point. Sorry for the long-winded response.
Mr. Chairman, this is Marilyn Band.
Yeah, go ahead, Marilyn.
I think that this, what they're using now is less salt on the road, and it's safer. So I think that the highway department has been doing better with this brine type mixture than by using all the salt on the road. It seems to be more environmental friendly than all the salt that previously has been used.
I do have one follow-up, and then I believe Supervisor Oberbeck has a comment, but, and I don't want to get too far off track what's on the agenda here, but in regards to the salt versus brine issue and how it impacts our reporting here. Jeff, has there been any sort of research, and you might have mentioned this a little bit when you were just talking about the report from, I believe, UWSP. Has there been any talk of doing any sort of evaluation as far as the cost savings or the environmental impact now that we've implemented the brine? I'm just curious.
Yes and no. The tonnage is obviously tracked, and it may vary depending on the season from winter to winter. So we may have a mild winter versus a more versus a winter where we have much more snow. So the highway department has been tracking that for a couple years now. It's a little bit early to come up with any true trend. But we have certainly, as a county, we have certainly used much less salt than we have in the past. So we're probably down to, and I'm going to guess, and it would have to be verified, probably we've reduced down to probably 60% of what we've used in the past. In terms of environmental, it's well documented through various reports throughout various states, from Michigan to Iowa to New York, Minnesota, that the use of brine is much more environmentally friendly.
Thank you. Supervisor Overbeck.
Well, one of the comments also would be that we've probably had 60% less snow and events over the last few years. But what I see is a lot more when they put this down on the road before, it's a lot of salt dust that is going into vehicles and everywhere else. It goes into the air. It's going into the car filters. It's really a different type of animal rather than rock salt being put down and giving grip on the road. But overall, I see when you salt a road, it immediately goes to water. As the snow builds up, then they're plowing that, and it turns into, at even 10 degrees or 15 degrees, you've got a lot of water in this snow, or the snow content makes it difficult even to drive in sometimes. But my concern is that it creates this water runoff earlier on in the stage rather than staying on the roads and being plowed, and gets into our streams and does some different things in there. What I see when we use outdoor recreation during the winter is these streams are opening up a lot sooner and stay open. It's a different situation out there. And I think it would be well worth the county's investment to start looking at near its main thoroughfares where this is being used a lot, what is happening to those waterways. But that's just my comments and observations from what I see.
Sure, thank you. I think at the very least, the takeaway from these discussions, as far as the feedback of with the report, the very first thing I hope the committee realizes is that the county is involved in a lot in regards to the MS4, between actually reviewing the data that we have with our facilities to the outreach that has to be done as part of these requirements. The second thing in regards to the specific discussion and the county's impact as far as clearing snow, that could definitely be something that's explored in the future between the ERC and the infrastructure committee. I have no bias against that at all. So in regards to the report itself, though, are there any other questions for Jeff? All right, seeing and hearing none. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, 5A2, we have an update on the Fenwood Creek funding requests. Paul?
So this is Paul Daigle. So just to give you a quick update as we try to keep you abreast of what's going on with that. From the county level, the director, Lori Miskimmons, and myself submitted an application last week on behalf of ERC to request the use of county ARPA funds to fund the Fenwood, as we have told you in the past. And so that has been submitted to Administrator Leonard by the deadline. And we hope for your robust support once that comes before that committee for discussion. At the state level, I already informed you of what happened in the Senate and the Assembly, and our hope is that we find a champion in one of our local legislators that initially sponsored this to get this into the 2023-24 budget. And in addition, I have reached out to Secretary of Agriculture, Randy Romanski, seeking to discuss the use of state ARPA funds, because my understanding there's about $1 billion of unexpended funds at this time, and we think that would be a good use of state funds as well. So, so we're still trying, and but we are also submitting a DNR Targeted Resource Management Grant for the Fenwood, but again, understand that's going to help producers meet the state basic performance standards, and not going to really fund a robust program that we're looking for to incentivize superior farming systems out there to meet the water quality goals. With that, any questions?
Any questions for Paul? Hearing and seeing none, this is something that's going to have to continue on our radar going into this next term as well. But Paul and Lori, thank you for your work on this, of course. Okay. 5A3 metallic mining. Yep, thank you. Item 5A3, metallic mining updates, new information. Oh, sure. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just asked Jacob to put this on here just so that we could make sure we're giving out up-to-date information. There has been a lot in the press in the last month related to a company out of Canada pursuing different mining activities with the Bend and Reef deposits, the Reef deposit being located here in Marathon County. So we just wanted to make it clear, and we have issued a couple corrections to the press, just letting them know that we have been approached by Greenlight out of Canada. They have requested an application for a metallic mining exploration permit only at this time, and they have not returned that application. So we won't take any action until obviously we receive an application. Per our code, if that should happen, that is not a conditional use permit process for an exploration permit. It is just something we review and we can permit, but we do make notifications to the Metallic Mining Committee and the ERC when that happens. And we've also talked that we can update the press as to those things as well, just to make sure we're getting the right information out there about what the requests are and what they mean. So, and I'll take any questions.
Sure. Any questions for the director?
This is Marilyn Band. Just to let you know that I received a phone call from someone, a representative from there, talking about having a meeting with the county board chair and some other people, and I recommended that they contact the ERC committee chairman people, because I will not be available on that day. I think it was going to be like on Thursday the 7th or something like that, because I have a prior commitment. Have you heard anything about that?
Thank you, Marilyn. I was going to add before moving on here. I have been I was contacted this morning by a representative from that company, and I am scheduled to meet with that company with the county board chair on Thursday morning. I will just say, though, in no way am I acting on behalf of the county board, let alone the ERC or the Metallic Mining Committee. If there are any developments, we would, of course, bring them to the Metallic Mining Committee or the ERC for their action, of course. But this is simply information gathering to determine what the next steps are. Supervisor Overbeck.
Because I just want to let you know that I told them that I would not be available because of a prior commitment, and I don't know why they asked me. I don't know if it's because of a board of director for the Towns Association or what, but I said I would not be available.
Sure. Thank you, Marilyn. Supervisor Overbeck.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I was contacted from a constituent in my district that asked about the Greenlight metals in Marathon County, what the status of that metallic mining permit, and I didn't have any information or what has been happening. So, and plus I cannot respond on my iPad as of yet. So we've got some work to do there. But so it's on record that they are also asking that and are not in favor of supporting that with some good reasons with their emails. So I think it's worthy of discussion within the ERC, what that process is and how that goes about through the approval process. Thank you.
And that's an excellent point. I believe it was 4 years ago this spring where we developed the ordinance that housed a lot of these mechanisms, and to do a refresher to the ERC would be a very good idea. We'll see if we can explore that for next month, of course. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? If not, as the director said, the application is out there but has not been submitted. There are other things that come into play as you continue on through the process. At least that's how we set it up with the process that we put into place 4 years ago. But we'll do a brief next month so that everybody is up to date in case they get more questions from constituents. So, all right. Hearing none, we'll move on. 6, policies, issues, discussion, and committee determination for the county board for its consideration. We have none. 7, next meeting, May 3rd, 2022, 3 p.m., assembly room, future agenda items. 7A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. For the next term, I do want to go back and I'll try and put it on the agenda for next month and revisit the solid waste fund that we were discussing this past couple months. We'll revisit metallic mining. And of course, any ideas from the committee members as well. We'll see if we can put on the agenda. 7B, announcements, requests, correspondence. I am going to say this after I put my foot in my mouth at the end of last month's meeting. It is election day. Good luck to everybody that's on the ballot today, and thank you for having me be your Environmental Resources Committee chair for this past term. So, Lori, go ahead.
One announcement as well for CPZ. This is going to be Paul Daigle's last meeting as county conservationist at the ERC. We do anticipate having him back on sort of an emeritus status going forward, but I did want to say thank you. Paul has over 31 years with Marathon County doing conservation work, leading conservation efforts for our county and the state as well. So, and I know you've been a part of a lot of big discussions and decisions and the work that went into those in these committees and the committee that existed before the ERC. So I did want to take a moment to say thank you. And we will be introducing our new county conservationist next month, Kirsty Heidenreich. So she'll be joining us at the May 3rd meeting. But I think Paul might be around too. We'll see.
Paul, do you have anything to add?
I don't know if this is on. Okay. Nothing formal prepared or anything. Just thanks for allowing me to serve Marathon County. And I think we've got a lot accomplished. And, you know, conservation is just something that is ongoing forever. We can't just work with people and leave. It has to be maintained. And the next group using our resources has to be educated on how to use them properly. And that's important for the ERC to continue to remember and bring our land and water plan to life. I think we got a great blueprint going forward, and you folks put a lot of work into that as well. And I think we have a great new county conservationist coming on board, and I think she's going to live up to the expectations that are in that land and water plan.
Well, thank you, Paul. And I wish you the very best in your next adventure in life, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. All right. That being said, let me just check my notes here. Yep. If there's nothing else, item number 8, who wants the last one for the term? Motion by Supervisor Seefeld. Second by Supervisor Obebeck. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
This meeting is